Today I will be filming my March wrap-up. And just as a side note, if I seem a little stressed in this video and a lot of kilter, it's because I just filmed this entire video and then I realized that the entire time it was not in focus. So, yeah. Finished it in March. It's Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. And this book currently is getting a lot of rage because the trailer for the movie just came out and the movie looks amazing. But if you have not read the book, do not watch the trailer because there are spoilers in it. And if you haven't read the book, you don't realize that there are spoilers. But then you read the book and you're like, wait, this is 1,000% a spoiler. Why is this in the movie trailer? But again, don't watch the trailer if you haven't read the book yet. Capiche? Okay. Good, moving on. So this book, I'm making a video about this later, but just a side note, I think my problem with reading and my struggle right now with reading is that I'm reading the wrong types of books and I'm giving them bad ratings now because I think I'm just kind of, my guess is that I've just overused that genre and I've just overread it and I've beaten it to death basically. But this book I gave a 4 out of 5 stars and I think I really probably should have given it a 3 out of 5 stars, but I felt pressured because of how much everyone else loves it to give it a 4 out of 5, but that's also why I didn't get a 5 out of 5 rating, is because I'm trying to be in the middle of the two. But this book, those of you who don't know, is about a girl named Louisa and a man named Will Traynor, and Will Traynor is in a wheelchair and Louisa becomes his caregiver. And it's just about the relationship over time. I really can't say too much more about this book, but for those of you who've read it, I think there's a very, very important thing that is being discussed in this book that should be discussed. It's something that's kind of, it's not addressed often because it's something that's kind of hard to talk about, but I think as our society goes on, we're going to have to address this topic at some point, and we're going to have to, think about the pros and cons of this. It sounds like I really wish I could say more about it, but I really can't. But for those of you who read it, you understand what I'm saying, and I think that this is a topic that people should read. Whether you love the storyline or not, I think you should read it because of what is addressed and what is talked about in this book. It's actually in focus. That's great. I'm not going to film this and then be really mad because it's out of focus because I don't even know why that even happened. But anyway, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. The next book I read in the month of March was The Unit by Nini Holmquist. And I don't know how to say her name because she is Swedish. She is Swedish. I actually don't know. The author is Swedish, so I don't know exactly how to say the name. This book is about a society where women who are 50 and men who are 60 who have not had children yet go to this place called the Unit. And in the Unit, people do experiments on them. They're used as test subjects basically. That's how they get their experimental data and stuff, is with these older individuals, and over time they slowly donate their organs to people outside in the real world who have kids, because society believes that only people who have kids are important and only those people need those organs. So people who are 50 and haven't had kids, they don't need their heart, liver, lungs, all that. They're given to someone else. And this book follows one woman, and I really can't say much more about this book, but it's hard being in the Unit because you do develop friendships with these people, and they do end up dying at some point. You can develop, a romantic relationship with someone, and that, they end up dying. Like, that's just what happens in this book. And I can't say much more about this book, but there is a very climactic moment that is very crazy in this book, that it's insane, it's crazy, it's so crazy. And I love this book. I would have given it a 5 out of 5 stars, but I just didn't like the ending of the book, and that's the only reason I didn't give it a 5 out of 5. But I wish this book was talked about more, and this book is absolutely incredible, and I highly, highly recommend this book. The next book I read in the month of March is Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone. This book follows a popular girl named Sam who has OCD, and she meets a friend named Caroline who knows about this thing called the Poets Corner, and I think twice a week they go to the Poets Corner, and they're kind of all just like, I guess, outcasts that don't totally fit in. And they share their poetry, and they develop friendships and relationships over time based on Poets Corner. This is a book, kind of like I said with Me Before You, that even if you don't like the storyline, you don't like that aspect of it, I think this book is very important because the main character is OCD, and I think mental health and things like that should be talked about more in books, and I love the fact that it's now being addressed in books left and right when it used to be such a taboo topic. I like that now it's something that we aren't afraid to talk about. We can openly discuss it in books, and like I said, whether you like the storyline of this book or not, you should read it. And again, I gave it 2 out of 5 stars just kind of like I said with Me Before You, where I think I'm overreading this genre. That's my best guess of what's happening. So maybe I'll go read a bunch of other genres, come back to this book someday and reread it and absolutely love it. That could happen. I don't know, but right now I didn't love this book. In the month of March, I also read Every Last Word by Jennifer Niven. This book follows a girl named Violet and a boy named Finch. I almost swapped those names around. That would have been embarrassing. The book starts with the two of them standing on the ledge, I think is of their school building, and they both are wanting to commit suicide, but they basically talk each other out of committing suicide. Over the course of the book, they develop a friendship, and they work in a school project together where they do these things called wanderings, which is basically, they live in the state of Indiana, and they go out to different places in Indiana, and they explore, and they're doing the school project all about the different unique places in Indiana. And again, I think this book is very important because it does talk about depression, it does talk about thoughts of suicide. I think that is something that should be talked about more in books, and it's just like Every Last Word, Me Before You, where if you don't love the storyline, you don't want, to see the friendship building over time, you should read it because of the fact that mental health is addressed, because I think that is very, very, very important now. And it's the same thing with Every Last Word, where I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. I think if I read this book, after I'm done overreading all of the contemporary books, if I come back and read this book someday, I think I could love it. Just right now, I just thought it was just an okay book. And the last book I'm reading, or currently reading, is After You by Jojo Moyes. And this book, I've heard that a lot of people don't want to read it because Me Before You is such an incredible book, and it's so hard to, read an amazing book after such an incredible book like Me Before You. It's a lot to live up to, and it's a lot to, handle. But I can't really say what this book's about. I'm reading this book, I'm curious to see what I think about it, and for me this is a really big deal to read this book because even though it's only a duology, I never read series. I know some of you out there are like, I read books 7 or 8 in a series, and I love reading series, and I get that, but that is personally not me, so it's even crazy I'm reading the second book. I've heard a lot of people say that this book sometimes isn't worth reading because of the fact that Me Before You is so amazing. Nothing can live up to that, but I'm reading it anyway. That was my March wrap-up. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.